You know that moment. You're lying there after another good night together. Her head was on your chest, she laughed at your jokes, she held your hand in public. She looked at you in that soft way that makes you think, maybe now. Maybe this is finally becoming something real. And then the conversation drifts toward commitment, labels, the future, what this actually is, and the whole energy changes. Her eyes pull back, her voice gets vague. She says, I just don't want to force anything. Or, I really care about you, I'm just not ready. And your mind goes there instantly. What are we doing? Why does she act like I matter and then freeze when it gets real? Am I asking for too much? Am I being used? Is she scared? Or am I just not the one? Here's the truth most people never say out loud. She's not keeping you around because the connection means nothing. She's keeping you around because the almost relationship gives her some of what commitment gives her, without forcing her to face what commitment would cost. And no, bro, that does not mean you're weak. It does not mean you're hard to love. It does not even automatically mean she's a bad person. You're not failing at love. By the end of this video, you're going to understand the hidden emotional reason she stays close but won't choose fully, how this pattern gets created beneath the surface, and what you need to do if you want clarity instead of confusion. Let's get into it. Most men believe that if a woman really likes you, commitment should happen naturally. That if the chemistry is there, if the connection is real, if you've been consistent and emotionally available, then choosing each other should be the obvious next step. But the real truth is deeper than that. People do not commit based on feelings alone. They commit when desire, safety, timing, self-awareness, and emotional readiness all line up at the same time. And when even one of those pieces is missing, love doesn't always disappear. Sometimes it just goes underground. That's why this gets so confusing, because what looks like mixed signals is often mixed internal reality. Her heart may feel one thing, her nervous system may feel another. One part of her may love your presence. Another part may associate commitment with pressure, loss, engulfment, disappointment, or being trapped inside expectations she doesn't know how to meet. Not because she's cold. Not because women are impossible. Not because you're crazy for wanting more. But because attachment patterns are real. And when someone has learned that closeness comes with pain, their nervous system starts reading commitment like a smoke detector reads burnt toast. It sounds the alarm before the mind can even explain why. Most couples never realize this. They think the problem is labels, timing, or bad communication. But here's what nobody explains. When a relationship lives in emotional ambiguity for too long, both people start adapting to the gray zone. One person gets more anxious. The other gets more withdrawn. One reaches harder. The other protects harder. And suddenly, you're not building connection anymore. You're managing cycles. That's what we're really talking about today. 1. Comfort is not commitment. Here's the part no one talks about. Most couples mistake emotional access for emotional decision. If she texts you every day, wants your attention, opens up to you, sleeps next to you, leans on you when life gets heavy, most people in relationships assume that means commitment is naturally right around the corner. But comfort and commitment are not the same thing. She can genuinely enjoy you. She can genuinely care about you. She can genuinely feel safe in your presence in certain moments. But commitment asks a bigger question. Not, do I like being close to you? But, am I willing to build a real future, carry real responsibility, and be fully known here? That's a different level of exposure. Because comfort soothes loneliness. Commitment removes escape routes. Comfort gives her connection. Commitment asks for congruence. And if her nervous system still feels split, she may keep the comfort while avoiding the decision. So the disconnecting version sounds like this. I mean, why do we need to define it? We already know how we feel. But the connecting version sounds like this. I do care about you, but I need to be honest that I'm enjoying this without being clear about what I can actually offer. That sentence changes everything. Because now the unspoken becomes spoken. And when that happens, you stop living inside hope alone and start living inside truth. That's the shift that turns a relationship from emotional fog into something you can finally see clearly. 2. She feels safe with you in moments, but not safe enough to surrender. And this is the one most couples never figure out. Most couples think commitment is about chemistry. If the spark is there, if the dates are good, if the affection is real, then what's the problem? But chemistry creates pull. Safety creates staying. Those are not the same thing. A woman can feel drawn to you and still not feel safe enough to fully land. Maybe your connection is intense but inconsistent. Maybe she's learned from past pain that once she relaxes, she gets hurt. Maybe every time things deepen, some quiet voice inside her whispers, "If I need him too much, I'll lose myself." Or, "The second I trust this, it'll change." That's attachment at work. Her nervous system is reading tone, timing, pressure, and emotional steadiness before her mind can catch up. And if closeness has ever felt dangerous in her history, then real commitment can feel less like a warm home and more like stepping onto thin ice. So the disconnecting version sounds like this. You say, "Why do you always pull away when things get good?" She hears, "I'm being cornered." The connecting version sounds like this. You say, "I've noticed that when we get closer, things feel a little more distant after. I'm not trying to pressure you. I just want us to be honest about what's happening." Now her brain can register, "He's not trying to control me. He's trying to understand me." And when you do that, the walls between you start to come down without either of you having to force the moment. 3. You're in her present, but not yet in her future. This is where it gets really interesting. Most couples focus on how good the connection feels right now. The late night talks, the chemistry, the emotional presence, the way she reaches for you when she's tired, overwhelmed, or craving connection. But commitment is future language, man. It is not just about how she feels with you today. It's about whether she can see her life making sense with you tomorrow. That's the part people avoid. Because sometimes, the hidden reason she won't commit is not that she feels nothing. It's that she feels something real, but not something stable enough to bet her future on. Maybe the values don't line up. Maybe the vision doesn't. Maybe the way you handle conflict, money, direction, or emotional repair quietly tells her, "This feels good now, but I don't know if this is where I can fully rest." And yes, sometimes that truth hurts. Because you can be good to her and still not feel like home to her future self. Not because you're lacking, not because she's heartless, but because real commitment requires alignment, not just attachment. So the disconnecting version sounds like this. Let's just enjoy what we have and stop overthinking. The connecting version sounds like this. I do like what we have, but if we're not building toward the same life, then staying here without clarity is only going to make this harder. That's not drama, that's maturity. And when you say it that way, your partner stops feeling like a puzzle to solve and starts becoming part of a truth you can actually live inside. 4. The gray zone protects her from grief. But here's what nobody explains. Most people in relationships think indecision means confusion. Like if she just had more time, more space, fewer expectations, she would magically know. But a lot of the time, the gray zone is not confusion. It's protection. Because clarity costs something. If she commits, she has to risk disappointment. She has to risk being seen. She has to risk failing, being hurt, being left, or realizing this still isn't right. But if she stays in the undefined middle, she gets to keep the connection while delaying the grief. That's why these situations can last forever. The gray zone is like emotional scar tissue. It forms slowly, one unresolved conversation at a time, one almost promise at a time, one "I'm just figuring things out" at a time. And meanwhile, you're standing there thinking, if I just love her well enough, surely this will become real. While something in her is quietly saying, if I never fully choose, I never fully lose. That's the hidden protection. So the disconnecting version sounds like this. She says, I just need more time. And you say, okay, I'll wait, even though waiting is already breaking you. The connecting version sounds like this. She says, part of me wants this, and part of me is scared. And you say, thank you for being honest, but I can't build a real relationship inside permanent uncertainty. That is not punishment. That is not withdrawal. That is not playing hard to get. That is two adults finally telling the truth. And that truth is what turns a relationship from a negotiation into something that can either become real or finally end honestly. She may be using you to regulate, not to relate. Here's the part that stings. Most couples never notice when connection quietly becomes regulation. She reaches for you when she's lonely. She wants your presence when life feels heavy. She wants your reassurance when she feels unseen, unwanted, or emotionally off-center. And because you care, you show up. Again and again. But relating and regulating are different things. Relating is mutual. Regulating can become one-sided. In that dynamic, you stop being a partner she is choosing and start becoming the emotional place she visits when she needs relief. That's why she comes close, then disappears. Comes close, then softens. Comes close, then gets withdrawn again. Not because she's always being manipulative. Sometimes she's just unconsciously using the relationship to calm feelings she hasn't learned to carry on her own. And your nervous system feels that too. You start thinking, she only really wants me when something hurts. You feel useful, but not chosen. Needed, but not claimed. Present, but never fully included. Bro, that dynamic will hollow you out if you stay asleep inside it. So the disconnecting version sounds like this. I miss you so much, I need you tonight, but I still can't do a relationship. The connecting version sounds like this. I notice I reach for you most when I feel alone or overwhelmed. That's real. But if I'm not willing to show up consistently too, then I'm asking you to carry something that isn't fair. That kind of honesty is rare.
And when it enters the room, the relationship stops being a place where one person manages the pain and starts becoming a place where both people can finally be real. 6. The more you audition, the less she has to decide. And here's what changes everything. Most people in relationships think more effort creates more commitment, more patience, more availability, more understanding, more proof, more I'm not like the others. But when you keep overfunctioning in a situation that has no clarity, you accidentally remove the pressure for truth. She gets all the benefits. You carry all the uncertainty. This is where anxious attachment gets sneaky, because your heart tells you to lean in harder, to love better, to explain yourself better, to prove your value more clearly. But over-pursuing rarely creates safety. It often creates imbalance. And imbalance almost never leads to real commitment. Not more texting, not more patience, not one more perfectly worded paragraph. What creates movement is self-respect with tenderness, presence with standards, warmth with backbone. This isn't a communication hack. This is what emotional maturity looks like when someone has learned to love without abandoning themselves. So the disconnecting version sounds like this. Just tell me what you need from me and I'll do it. The connecting version sounds like this. I care about you, but I'm not going to keep auditioning for a role that should only be filled by mutual choice. Read that again. Because when you stop performing for commitment, she finally has to face what she actually wants. And that's the shift that brings your dignity back into the room. 7. Clarity is the real turning point. This is where most couples either grow up emotionally or stay stuck in cycles. Most couples fear clarity because they think clarity ends things. But clarity is not the enemy. Ambiguity is. Clarity doesn't destroy connection. It reveals whether connection was sturdy enough to stand in the light. And sometimes that light hurts. Because it may reveal that she does care, but not enough. Or that she wants you close, but not chosen. Or that she loves how you make her feel, but she is still not emotionally available for a real partnership. And as painful as that is, it is still kinder than months of mixed signals and unspoken longing. Here's the truth. A healthy relationship is not built by decoding someone forever. It's built when two people can turn toward what is real, even if real is uncomfortable. That is what repair starts with. That is what presence sounds like. That is what breaks cycles. So the disconnecting version sounds like this. So, where do you see this going? And then you accept another vague answer because you're afraid truth will end it. The connecting version sounds like this. I care about you deeply, but I want something mutual, emotionally available, and real. If you can't meet me there, I have to step back and honor myself. That sentence changes your life.
Because now you are no longer begging love to choose you. You are choosing a kind of love that can actually hold you. And that's the shift that turns you from someone waiting at the door into someone finally walking through it. So if this is your situation, hear me clearly. This is not about becoming colder. It's not about punishing her. It's not about pretending you don't care. It's about becoming the kind of person who can hold love and truth in the same hand, who can stay kind without becoming self-betraying, who can stay open without living in emotional limbo. That is who you're becoming. This isn't a checklist. It's an invitation to stop confusing access with devotion, stop romanticizing ambiguity, and start honoring the kind of connection that actually creates safety, presence, and peace. When you internalize this, you stop reacting from fear and start responding from self-respect. And she will feel that difference before you even say a word. These aren't just tips for a better relationship. They're the beginning of becoming the kind of partner you always wanted someone to be for you. Real commitment begins the moment you stop settling for almost love and start requiring a love that can stand in the light. If this hit home, drop clarity in the comments. And if you want more honest conversations about connection, attachment, and what actually makes love last, stick around.